Hey, it's Lucas Watson, your host. Welcome to my Week 6 2010 NFL matchups. The first matchup we have are the Bears playing the Seahawks. Seahawks haven't won a game yet on the road. Bears are undefeated at home. Bears have a stronger defense. Their offense is getting Jay Cutler back. Matt Forte, Jay Cutler, too much for the Seahawks. I say the Bears win this easily. Next matchup, Dolphins and Packers. The Finns this year have solid run game like always. Chad Henne seems to be growing up and becoming a solid quarterback in the NFL. They've got new weapons on offense. The Packers are probably one of the top teams in the NFC, very explosive. I say the Finns win this game though, however, if Aaron Rodgers is unable to play. Their defense is solid, and I don't think there's any way a Packers backup quarterback could beat the Finns. So I'm going to go with the Finns on this one. Unless Aaron Rodgers is healthy, then I think the Packers win in a close game. Next matchup's Chargers and Rams. Chargers this year have been embarrassed on defense. They've been horrible. Their offense is also making a lot of mistakes, turning the ball over a lot. However, the Rams have lost their number one receiver. Their offense just was non-existent when Clayton went down. I think the Chargers blow the Rams out at home. Next matchup's the Ravens and Patriots. Both these teams are very good with only one loss this year. The Ravens definitely have picked up a lot of new weapons on offense and are looking really, really good this year. And their secondary's played a lot better than people thought. I'm going to have to go with the Ravens on this one, however, because the Patriots, losing Randy Moss is going to hurt them more than they think. Even though I love the moves they've made to where they have 7 draft picks in the first 4 rounds, they're going to hurt at least this season from losing Randy Moss. He opens up Wes Welker. He opens up everyone else in their offense. Although they have a good system they run, they'll still be a great team. I think the Ravens are just a better team right now. Next matchup is the Raiders and 49ers. 49ers have been a surprise team this year. They haven't won any games. They're making mistake after mistake after mistake, and they should be a lot better off than this. The scary thing is, however, their division is so weak that they still have a chance at the playoffs. They're desperate right now. The Raiders, they should be 3-2. They lost a game on a 30-yard field goal that Seabass missed. They're definitely still disappointed about that. But I think the 49ers are more hungry, more desperate. The Raiders, even with a loss, can still make the playoffs because the way the Chargers are playing right now, and I don't think the Chiefs are going to stay on top for long. Our next matchup's the Cowboys and Vikings. The Vikings and Cowboys both this year have been disappointments. Both of them were predicted to be the top 2 seeds in the NFC, and both had very explosive offenses. I think the big problem though is with the Cowboys. They're talented. They're probably one of the most talented teams in the NFL, but poor coaching, poor decision making, and just personal fouls, penalties are killing them this year. The Vikings, on the other hand, losing Sidney Rice just shut down the offense. Just like I was talking about earlier with the Patriots. Losing that star wide receiver shuts down everything else. It's like a domino effect. Percy Harvin was not playing well in the number 1 slot. Berrien drops easy catches. But now they can move Percy to the slot. More pressure on Randy Moss. He takes those double teams. He takes the safety away. Percy Harvin, with his speed, can cut through the middle of the field and just tear it up. Touchdown after touchdown. I think the Vikes offense becomes a lot more explosive. I also think the Vikes are going to win this game. Next matchup's the Colts and Redskins. This is an interesting one because the Colts have Peyton Manning, probably the best player in the NFL, but they have a weaker defense this year due to injuries. Their offense is very one-dimensional, all Peyton Manning all the time. Not much of a run game. Plus, they lost to Dye to an injury. I don't know if he's going to be back this week. Even if he is back, Uh, they don't run the ball very much. Redskins have been a surprise team. They're very balanced. They've had some issues in the run game too, but they seem to have sorted that out last week. McNabb's stats don't pop out on the paper, but he's definitely a big factor in all the games. Redskins defense is phenomenal this year. They're usually the best unit on the Redskins, but this year they've really stepped it up. I'm definitely gonna have to go with the Redskins in this one. Peyton Manning may win this game on his arm alone, but with a team that's that one-dimensional, it's very, very, very difficult to win. So I think the Redskins will win this one at home. Our next matchup, the Lions and Giants. Lions are an interesting team this year because the Lions should have wins over the Bears and the Eagles. They lost the game at the end versus the Eagles, and the Bears was definitely a win. They had a touchdown. He rolled around on the ground. Calvin Johnson got up, pushed the ball down against the ground while he was getting up. They called it incomplete. But the Lions have a very explosive offense. They are missing Calvin Johnson this week, what I'm hearing. It sounds like he's at least going to be out this week. Without that weapon, they're going to be a little bit weaker. But Jahvid Best, another explosive player. Their defense is definitely better this year. They put more pressure on the quarterback. Ndamukong Suh is a freak of nature. But I'm going to have to go with the Giants on this one. They're just more of a veteran team. They're at home. The Lions missing Calvin Johnson's a big deal. But don't fall asleep on the Lions. They're better than their record. Falcons and Eagles. This is another interesting matchup. The Falcons have only got one loss this year. It's versus the Steelers, who quite possibly could be the best team in the NFL. It was in overtime on a 50-yard run. The game could have gone either way. But since then, the Falcons have just beat team after team. Matty Ice is playing really well. They've got Turner the Burner. Their team's just very, very solid. The Eagles have had an up and down season. They've got two starting quarterbacks. If Michael Vick plays, I think they have a good shot at beating the Falcons because Michael Vick is just too hard to contain. Right now he's playing lights out. I've never seen him complete passes like he's completing. He's over 60% completion. He had trouble staying in 50s earlier in his career. The Eagles have a lot of weapons. And the Falcons' defense is a little undersized, and they have some youth at corner and then the secondary. However, I just think the Eagles are not as solid as the Falcons. I'm going to take the Falcons in this game. Our next matchup's the Browns and Steelers. This is probably the easiest and most gimme game of the week. Browns just aren't producing a lot of offense. I think they're producing around 15 points a game. Steelers' defense is one of the best in the NFL. They hit the quarterback a lot. Colt McCoy is supposedly starting this week for the Browns, which is just not a good sign for them. The Steelers are going to light the Browns up. I don't think this is a close game. I think the Steelers handle the Browns heavily, especially with Roethlisberger coming back. The next matchup's the Saints and Bucks, and this is my surprise game of the week. The Saints, although a very good team coming off their Super Bowl win, they've become too one-dimensional. Everyone else is saying their defense isn't making as many plays this year, and Reggie Bush being gone does hurt them, but they're too one-dimensional. They're passing the ball every time. They're predictable. Everyone knows what they're doing. Pass, 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 and their running backs aren't getting it done. Thomas coming back would be good. If they decide to run the ball, they can beat anyone. But if they're going to pass it every time, they just have no shot. The Bucks defense is playing good this year. Although I don't think the Bucks are as good as their record says, the Saints are basically giving their opponents wins by passing every down. There's no team in the NFL that can win with such a one-dimensional offense. So I'm going to go with the Bucks on this one. The next matchup's the Chiefs and Texans. Chiefs are a very big surprise team this year as well. They're playing lights out on defense. Their special teams making phenomenal plays. The problem is their offense is lethargic. Their receivers drop, soft drops, and Matt Castle is completing, I think, around 55% of his passes, and he's getting hit quite a bit too. I don't think they've allowed many sacks on him this year, but he's still getting pressure on him, and he's made a couple of bad decisions. On the other hand, the Texans' defense has been miserable this year. They're just not a very good unit, which surprised me a lot because I thought they were going to be a lot better this year. But the Texans' offense, it's just explosive, and I think it's explosive enough to beat the Chiefs' defense. The Chiefs' offense will be much easier for the Texans to contain. I'm going to go with the Texans on this one. And my next matchup's the Jets and Broncos. Broncos technically should only be a one-win team. They beat the Jags in a close game in Jacksonville, but the win versus the Titans, they got a lot handed to them. The Titans made quite a few mistakes at the end of the game, including turnover on a kick return that would have ended up possibly being the game-winning drive. Also a 2nd and 25, I think it was, pass interference that led to a touchdown was a big thing as well. The Broncos they're missing Dumerville. They're not getting as much pressure on the quarterback. They're losing Robert Ayers as well for the next 6 weeks. Their offense, although explosive, and Kyle Orton is a good quarterback in the NFL, I just don't see them as being a balanced enough team on defense and offense. They have no run game at all. The Jets will live off that. They will blitz every time. They'll hit Orton time after time. And the Titans got to him 6 times. I think the Jets can get to him even more. I'm definitely going to have to go with the Jets in this one. That leads us to our last matchup. Titans and Jags on Monday Night Football. Jags and Titans are part of the AFC South, which will have all 3-2 teams. Jacksonville has played very well this year and surprised a lot of people, and the Titans could even be 4-1 if they would have had that win versus the Broncos. And against the Steelers, they had 7 turnovers and still only lost by a touchdown. So they're surprising a lot of people. They have Chris Johnson, Vince Young, which is a dual threat. Both can run the ball. Kenny Britt seems to be becoming a star in this league, and their defense is #1 in sacks with 22. I don't see the Jags being able to stop the Titans' attack. They've got one of the worst passing defenses in the NFL. I'm sure Coach Fisher will definitely take advantage of that, make Vince Young air it out a little more. That'll lead to less men in the box and CJ getting loose a little bit more. And then also that defense is going to hit Garrard time after time after time. They may move down the field a lot, but they'll probably turn the ball over quite a few times. I think the Titans handled them heavily. Alright, this is Lucas, your host. Thank you for listening to my Week 6 2010 NFL predictions. Catch back with me next week.